Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where it's time to melt some bogus robotics in this ultra-challenging platformer on Sega Genesis. It's B.O.B. Objection! I miss the old Electronic Arts logo. The game is B.O.B. from 1993, a 7-day rental, quality guaranteed, previously viewed, game from some place called Power Zone. I wonder if they want it back, because I'm not rewinding it. B.O.B. is a side-scrolling platformer adventure game featuring a teenage robot who crashes the car on a date. Way to go, B.O.B. Try staying sober. No, Dad's not going to be happy about that, because not only have you wrecked his car, you've raised his insurance premium. Dad is going to kill you if the aliens and robots don't do it first, which they probably will, because this game is damned hard. B.O.B. is a quirky, funny platformer with a good sense of humor back when games like this were being knocked out every week. What makes B.O.B. stand out, for me at least, is the humor, because the rest of the game is kind of average. It's really hard though, you've got to memorize everything to get anywhere in B.O.B. I do like that the game has clearly taken a lot of inspiration from the movie Aliens, one of my favorite movies. We've got the alien eggs in the background, the pulse rifle, the flamethrower, the sound effects. If you're going to be inspired, it may as well be by aliens. Nothing wrong with that. Where the game loses me a bit is in its rigidity. You have to play it exactly the way it wants to be played. There's really no margin for error in B.O.B. It's the kind of game you absolutely have to memorize, and it's a bit clunky. Fortunately, stuff like that will keep you laughing because you're gonna die a lot. Or I guess in Bob's case, you'll be deactivated frequently. There's a password system so you can jump ahead levels, which is kind of handy but not terribly handy, because what you really need to do is make your way through all of the levels perfectly while collecting your ammo and robotic remote devices there on the bottom right of your screen. One thing that separates B.O.B. from most of the other side-scrolling platformers from the 90s is that he's constantly low on ammo. You don't have unlimited shots in this game. If you run out of bullets or flames or whatever, you can try to punch enemies, but that won't get you very far. Boss shooting, eh? Yes. That's why the password system isn't terribly useful, because even though you can jump ahead levels and continue, it doesn't replenish all of your ammo. B.O.B. is a neat-looking game with some good personality, but it's a bit clunky and unresponsive, too. And that prevents it from being a great game, because I think it's close. I think it's close to being a really memorable platformer, but you don't hear too much about this, probably because it's insanely hard. There's a lot going on screen. B.O.B.'s pretty heavily animated, so it always feels like he's under a lot of pressure when turning around and jumping, like it's just not terribly fast and responsive like Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario. Then there's some flying scenes which feel like they were tacked on at the last minute, and this game has a lot of good ideas, but it does kind of get lost in the sea of better platformers on the Genesis. Not to compare it directly to Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog, but those are great examples of fast, responsive games. When you jump, they jump. When you try to jump with B.O.B., it always feels like it takes them a little bit longer than it needs to. And the sluggishness just increases the difficulty of an already difficult game, because you're trying to jump over things where there's one pixel room for error. However, if you like ultra-challenging platformers, I think you might want to check out Bob. I like the personality. I think Bob is a cute character, but throughout the game, I never really felt like I got to know him. Like, he's supposedly out on a date, but I get the sense he'd rather be home smoking, watching Aliens. As you're playing, you'll pick up these little remote devices like a helicopter and a spring bounce pad that are kinda neat, but after a while the gimmick wears off quickly. Also, I found Bob to be a bit repetitive. You're always doing pretty much the same thing over and over again. All that being said, I don't really care for it too much, but those of you who love ultra-challenging, quirky platformers should check it out. It's not too hard to find, it's pretty affordable. And this copy was sent to the show by Robert, or Bob, from Surrey, British Columbia, in Canada. Maybe Bob the Robot is Robert from Surrey. Who knows? Hopefully that date worked out for you. I don't have the instruction manual, but I'm assuming that Bob stands for Bogus Operating Buddy, instead of Robotic Operating Buddy, which would be Rob the Robot. Well, maybe Rob the Robot also lives in Surrey. All the robots live in Canada these days.